Okay, this is going to be an instructional video for Project 2 for my seated courses. So if you are a traditional CART course that is not online, this is going to be for you. So obviously ignore the instructions for the online classes right here that we've got highlighted in yellow. You do not need to worry about those, but the premise of the project is still the same. So for the Renaissance Jigsaw Puzzle Project 2, the Renaissance is a period of art during the 15th, 16th, and 16th centuries. The Italian Renaissance was centered in primarily Florence, Italy, and includes famous artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, Botticelli, and more. And then we also have the Northern Renaissance, which occurred simultaneously in the 15th and 16th centuries, where we have artists like John van Eyck, Albert Dreher, and Bosch, and more as well. Learning about all of these cinematic artists in a meaningful way is nearly impossible, even if we had all semester just to focus on the Renaissance. So essentially what we're doing with this project is breaking it into where you will have the chance to learn more about one artist as a group, and then you will present that information to the class and we will talk about it together. Or you will present it to us and teach us, about that artist and the work that they've created. So the first and foremost, the important thing to take away from this project is that it is a group project, and we will be going over this in class as well. But I'm just including instructions for the project here in case maybe you've missed class, or if you just need to come back and refresh, what it is that we're doing for this project. So you may or may not need this video, but if you just want to kind of hear the instructions again, I will have it here for you. So before beginning, I will assign you a group and a Renaissance artist. So that is not up to you to decide. I will assign the groups and the artists that your group will be researching. This will be a couple weeks before the project is due, and there will be time in class for us to work on the project together. You will need to research your assigned artist as a group, and remember that you will need to cite any sources that you paraphrase or quote from, and then discuss with your group to determine who will complete which portion of the activity. This will make more sense when you decide on what format you want to choose for your assignment, and you will need to decide that as a group. This is not individually. Your group will all decide on one format together. So you will begin working on your Google Slides presentations. We must use Google Slides for this so that the group members can all contribute to it. So that is a requirement for this. We can't use like Microsoft PowerPoint or another format. It needs to be something that we're able to share with. Now we can use Prezi as well if you'd prefer to do Prezis, but most of everybody chooses Google Slides for this, so we'll just stick with all the same format. Unless you just really want to do Prezi, which it's fine. Task 2, you're going to choose your format. There are 3 choices of formats for your project described below. Each choice is worth the same grading percentages, and each option allows you to demonstrate your learning in a way that appeals to your learner preferences. So you will need to choose one of the 3 formats. You do not choose all 3 of them. You only choose one as a whole group. A visual timeline, or exploring the work of the artist over their whole life. Now, Google Slides has several like template options for this if you'd like to do a timeline that makes everything really nice and formatted correctly. So that might be something that you'd want to choose for this if you decided to do the visual timeline. A formal analysis of the artworks, or however many numbers of students you have in your group. So most groups are going to be 4 people per group, so you'll need to do 4 artworks. But if your group for some reason has more people or less people than that, well, really just more people. If you have less people than that, you'll still need to choose at least 4 artworks and just distribute the information differently. But so yeah, if you have 5 people though, you need to choose 5 artworks, and so on and so forth. So a formal analysis of 4 artworks, and then lastly, a deep dive into 1 or possibly 2 artworks with an examination into the meaning, symbolism, details, etc. So the deep dive, this might be a good one for an artwork like the Sistine Chapel, if you have Michelangelo, or if you have Leonardo da Vinci, maybe like the Last Supper, or the Mona Lisa, but one that there's been a lot of research on, a lot of information on, that you can, do a lot of work on. The formal analysis, honestly, is not that much different than the deep dive, but a deep dive is like you're dividing the artwork into, 2 to 4 parts in that. So it needs to be really heavy into the significance of it. But a formal analysis I would honestly look back at project 1 on our art analysis that we have there and try to answer some of the same questions when you're setting up your format for it. The requirements, you must use Google Slides and utilize at least 4 pages for the body of the presentation. You don't need to use any less than that, and your title page and your works cited page is not going to count as one of those 4 pages. Your Google Slides presentation should contain a balance of images and text, so no large paragraphs need to be used, and please use bullet points or short sentences. Remember that this is primarily a visual presentation. All sources must be documented in MLA style on a works cited page at the end. You can choose, if you'd like to submit this as a separate document, but it's easiest just to put it at the end of your Google Slides page. So I would recommend that for everybody, really. If you do quote something specifically from a one of your sources, you need to make sure that you use in-text citations. And here's an example of how to do that. So this is a quote and then the source that came from. Make sure that you put it in quotations and that your source is in parentheses. Try to use elevated and professional language to discuss your ideas, and try to use art terms and demonstrate that you know what they mean. So this is going to come from your previous chapters that we have gone over prior to this project, and really just like your forms and principles, your elements and principles of design, your early chapters will be where you get a lot of your vocabulary from here. Again, your project must be at least 4 pages of content, not including the title page or the works cited. And please include, this is an important thing for your group project. On whatever slide it is that you work on, you need to make sure that you include your first and last name. And this can be done by putting your name in parentheses at the end of a text section. So this, or just the bottom, wherever you want it to be at. There was a little typo there, but somewhere on the page, you need to put your first and last name to let me know that you are the one who completed that portion. Points will be deducted for poor grammar, spelling, and unclear writing, as well as poor organization, or really if the biggest thing with y'all's project and with the seated project is that when we do the presentation of this project, you need to be prepared with your group the day of. Now I've had this project, previously where the group worked on it separately, and their parts separately made sense and they were organized correctly, but they didn't talk in person and just sort of like went and did their own thing. And then when they went up to present it, it just didn't flow well together. They didn't know, when to start talking or stop talking. It wasn't in any type of order. And you'll definitely get points taken off for that. You also need to make sure that if you have any problems with anyone in your group not participating, that you make me aware of that early on so that I can know that is, something that we need to address. And I need to talk to that person that's not participating. Additionally, if you don't participate or you don't have any slides with your name on them, you will not receive credit. Although this is a group project, you will not all receive the same grade. If I can tell that there is somebody that's been putting in a lot more effort than others, or someone who has not been putting in any effort, I will grade accordingly to that. So that's really, really important that you come to the project prepared the day of, and that you are just ready to present and ready to, present with your group, and that there's no, last minute issues that occur. Again, we'll go over this, later on, but this will be a presentation will be sort of in a random order. I'm not going to have like group 1 goes on this day, group 2 goes on this day, because I think that's unfair to knowingly give, one group more time than the other. So really just, the day that the presentations start, you need to make sure that your group is prepared whether or not you go that day. You will present your Google Slides in class with your groups. I'll list the dates for the group presentations later in the semester, and you will be graded individually on the information you provide and on how well you present through research. This is why it's important to make sure that your name is typed on the slides that you create. Try not to read off your slides entirely, but rather use them as references for your major points. Each group member must upload the Google Slides link to the submission before presentations are due. Again, I'll announce this at a later due date. This is just my template for this project. So, come back for the actual specific due dates and we'll go over in class. And you must remember to make your slides public. I've attached a screenshot above about how to do this. If you fail to do so, your project will not be accepted for grading. Here's the slide here. So this is what your presentation should look like on Google Slides. You've got this share button right here. Sorry, my dog's trying to get into the frame here. You've got this share button up here at the top. So click there. And then on general access, it should say anyone with the link, or it might say private or only people with permission are able to access it. You need to make sure it's turned on to anyone with the link is the viewer. And then you can copy the link right here where this little peel button is. I will say if you copy up here at the URL top, sometimes that gets a little bit funky. So I would just copy the link right here where it has the share button at, just to make sure that it's the formal link and that it's going to be done correctly. And again, everyone in your group needs to upload the assignment, although it's the same thing, just submitted, for however many times. I can't grade your assignment unless there is everyone or unless you have a submission on the project. So if you do not, I will not be able to give you a grade, and you'll get a 0 in the grade book for just not having anything uploaded. So that's really important to note. But again, just make sure, one, you're prepared during your presentation. We don't know what day that's going to be yet, but when presentations begin, make sure your group is ready and that you are present. And if you, for some reason, are not going to be present, that you let me know beforehand. That you label your slides with your name, that you upload correctly, and that's really the most important 3 things there. We'll have lots of time to work on this project leading up to it. And also, I do want to note here, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm aware that the Renaissance section in our art history unit, we're not going to have covered by the time that we actually start presenting these projects. And that is intentional. I want us to go ahead and have a little bit of understanding about the Renaissance and about these later these early art history movements before we actually get to them. That way we're a little bit more prepared and we know what we're getting into once we actually start going over the content. I don't want to do it retrospectively where we'll go over the content and then just hear the content again. I want this to sort of introduce us into the Renaissance, and so we can talk about it with a little bit more knowledge at the time. But that's pretty much it. This, again, I'm just making this video in case you, for some reason, didn't hear the instructions in class or just need to come back and revisit it again. But otherwise, you guys, good luck with your projects, and please reach out to me in person or through email if you have any questions or concerns.